All right, guys, welcome to Full Time Devils. Before we get started, remember to subscribe so you get all the videos that we're putting out. This is the Ramble with me, Busby MUFC, and Justin, who's at RFFH. That's Red Flag Flying Eye. I got it right. It's been 24 hours now since the match. Obviously, a great result. How are you feeling?
The euphoria is just about dying down. It seems a bit silly saying euphoria after a match against Arsenal in November, but it wasn't just the game. I felt the performance was just what we needed. It wasn't the greatest United performance, but it was a good performance, solid one, and just what was required. And also the main thing about yesterday for me was the atmosphere. The atmosphere was fantastic. You know, for 90 minutes almost, the whole stadium was absolutely bouncing. We kept singing, 20 times was ringing out constantly, and a few other chants as well. And we really put the Arsenal fans to shame. And I think, I know it sounds a bit of a cliche, but I do think that the crowd were like the extra man. We really did get behind the team. Something I've not really seen at Old Trafford this season, if I'm honest. It was sort of reminiscent of some of the really big European nights you have. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like I think everyone knew that it was such a big game. They wanted to get behind the team. You could feel the tension, but then it all sort of came out as a release during the match. You know, I've seen some Arsenal fans saying the away section were amazing and louder than United. I have no idea where that comes.
That's ridiculous. I think the thing as well, like you're saying, it's a big game, and with all due respect to the West Broms, the Crystal Palaces, the Stokes, whoever. Sometimes, I suppose, as a fan, it's difficult to always get as motivated for those games. Whereas Arsenal, there is the rivalry there. All right, they're not one of our biggest rivals, like Leeds or City or Liverpool, but they are a rival. And I think the fact that it was a game that the sort of people were looking at to sort of kickstart a season, I think it all added to the sense of occasion. And also, I think that little bit of that extra hour before the kickoff, that 10 past 4 gives people an extra hour in 10 minutes in the pub, and that sometimes can play a part as well. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, I'm feeling the effects of the extra hour and 10 minutes right now. So yeah, I know. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was great stuff. The atmosphere was brilliant. I was singing. My voice is pretty much this morning was just completely gone. So yeah, I mean, from that side of things, I think we did get behind the team, and in the end, it was just the result we needed. I think we couldn't have done with a loss yesterday, and the win was, I think I said it was a must win, and we've come out with the win. Now we've got to move on from there. The performance itself, yeah, it was great at the back. I thought Johnny Evans and Phil Jones stood out. Chris Smalling had a good game. But again, overall, the performance was more of a sort of a solid performance as opposed to something that sort of inspired things. But yeah, result was great, and now we need to push on, really.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought the whole defence, to be fair, I thought Vidic in the first half. I thought Evra had a good game because he had to do a lot of covering when Kagawa drifted inside. And I thought, like you said, the Phil Jones, I thought, was outstanding in midfield and equally so when he moved into defence. And it answered a lot of questions that people were asking. There was sort of silly statements coming out of the Arsenal camp and everyone banging on about Ozil and Cazorla, and man, I was sort of talking about their midfield before the game myself, but I think we really stepped up and showed the whole league that we're champions for a reason. We haven't just suddenly become a bad team overnight. We're still, there's still pretty much the same group of players, and we're still capable of on our day beating anyone, and certainly beating anyone at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday you see the work rate was really there. It was a good team effort as well. I mean, it says a lot that the stand-up performance were probably more defensive players. I don't think we were particularly good going forward. But in the end, we didn't need it. We got the win. And the clean sheet, again, that's huge. We've not really defended that well this season. We're not really picking up clean sheets. And it was comfortable, really. We had a few scary moments with some Sanya crosses, but they didn't really threaten. There wasn't anything really bothering David De Gea. And we kept them quiet. We kept probably the best side in England in terms of form quiet. We kept Ramsey quiet. Ozil, I mean, I can't even remember if he played, to be honest. At half time, I was thinking, is he on the pitch? Because I was kind of like, well, I was a bit drunk, and also he was a bit anonymous as well. So yeah, it was one of those.
I think that's a credit to our midfield, the sort of the effort, like you said, the work rate they put in. Plus the forwards as well. There was times when Robbie Van Persie had the ball, and Rooney for that matter, and he had like 2 or 3 players around him and still managed to keep hold of it. It was one of those performances where you don't like to single anyone out. You could go through the entire team. I thought everyone did well. Even Cleverly, when he came on, a couple of touches he gave the ball away when he first came on. I thought, well, here we go. But I think he got into the game and he played his part as well. I think it was one of those performances where the whole the whole team played the part, and I think Arsenal in a way just couldn't match us for the effort. They really couldn't, and I think they've got to look at themselves there as well, because I think in terms of who wanted it more, there was one team that definitely wanted it more. I mean, I think yesterday was a sort of example of some of the strength and depth we've got. I mean, people sort of have been criticising our squad, but if you look at it, we didn't have Rio Ferdinand, we didn't have Raphael. Raphael is a big player for us, and we didn't have him. Then we lost Vidic, and we were able to sort of bring in Cleverley. And Jones, I think, sort of steps up to the plate yesterday in the first half in defensive midfield, and that's a role that I think he can do. A lot of people say he's a centre back, but I think, especially at the moment where you've got Evans and you've still got one of either Rio or Vidic, I think that Jones can do a job in midfield, and yesterday was proof of that, because Arsenal have got one of the strongest midfield in the league, and he didn't look like he was out of sorts at all. He coped with him. I think the sort of maybe the surprising thing really is that even when Vidic went off, Jones comes out of midfield. Even then, after that, we still don't see Fellaini coming in. Moyes preferred Cleverley, and I think that speaks volumes, really. I think we saw a similar thing against Fulham. It's pretty obvious that Fellaini isn't a defensive midfielder, which is probably what we need. And I think Moyes has sort of realised that he can't rely on him, certainly not this stage in the season anyway, to fill that role. So it's going to be interesting to see what role Fellaini gets to fill, because at the moment, he's not. I don't see him playing off the striker, because we've already got Kagawa and Rooney there. You know, we're sort of shifting Kagawa out to the left to accommodate him. I don't see him playing in defensive midfield, because we've already got Jones there, and possibly Cleverley, and obviously Carrick. So I think he might just have to settle for a place on the bench, despite the price tag he's got.
I mean, yeah, look, talk about Fellaini. I mean, when you could see that in the first half, Jones really hassled the midfield, really put them under pressure. It was quite a physical performance from him. So when we had to make the change, it was surprising to see that he brought Cleverley on. Not that he did badly, but when you saw the sort of effect Jones was having, you thought that would have been an ideal situation to get Fellaini on, use his physical presence to really get in the face of the midfielders. But as you say, he's not really proven to be doing that when he's been playing. It's like he's sort of still finding his feet. It's like he's had his performances. Sorry?
Literally finding his feet at times, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's had great performances for Everton, but up top. But his preferred position is central midfield. So we pay the price for his performances up top, but then we're bringing him in to play in midfield just because he says that's his preferred position. To me, that was the wrong way to go. I mean, in the end, for now, he's probably going to be on the bench for a while until he does settle in and start to find that rhythm. And yeah, it'll take time to get that rhythm. It takes, better players than him have found it difficult. But hopefully he comes good. In terms of the squad, it's in transition because we've got a new manager. But the squad itself, there are areas which will need updating, like left back. Herrera, he's not got that much longer left in him due to his age. Same with Rio, same with Vida. But then we've also got great young players like Evans, Jones. Smalling had a great game yesterday. We've got a good mix. It's just I think we need to add a world-class central midfielder into that side, and then we've got the basis for another title-winning and possibly Champions League winning team.
Definitely. I think the thing with Fellaini is, I actually give Moyes credit yesterday. I think it took a lot of guts to not bring him on or to not play him after you've spent that money on him, and he did the right thing. I mean, it's all about winning the game. It's not about, I've spent a load of money on this player, so I've got to play him. That's never been the Manchester United way under Sir Alex, and I don't think it should be under Moyes. And I prefer him to bring on Cleverley or whoever he thinks he needs to bring on to get the result, which he did, and it worked. So I was actually, I think, although some people might be critical of him, he spent all this money and he's not even playing him, I actually think he deserves a bit of credit for that, because he didn't bring him on until right sort of towards the end, and even that was sort of further forward. But yeah, I mean, there's been all this sort of doom and gloom about the squad. But when you look at it, Zaha, a top-class player, can't get a sniff. Fabio, a top-class player, can't get a sniff. Johnny Evans would be a regular in practically any defence. Not a regular for us, really. He's sort of in and out. Chris Smalling's only getting a run because Raphael was out. So Danny Welbeck, I don't want to start going on about Danny Welbeck. I'll be on all day because I love him that much. But even he's not a regular, even though he's probably the greatest player in the history of football. So, I was about to say Ashley Young then, but we'll not mention the Ashley Young because everyone will get upset. But, players like Nani, he's another player that's in and out of the side. So the quality is there, and there is a strength and depth in the squad that it perhaps hasn't been noticed, and because the results haven't been going our way in the past, people have sort of assumed that we're in decline. But this is the same squad that finished 11 points clear last season, other than perhaps Paul Scholes. But then again, we've brought in Zaha and Fellaini, so it is pretty much the same squad. So the wheels haven't come off the squad at all. And like you say, I think now it's not quantity, it's a quality. We need I think you're right. I think we need one big central midfielder. I think we need a central midfielder who's going to be a starter, who can do a job, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe. Not someone who's going to be ready in 3 or 4 years, someone who's ready now. And I know they don't grow on trees, but there's mention of Khedira, I think. Maybe Herrera, although he's gone off the boil a little bit from what I've seen of lately over in Spain. So maybe someone like Khedira might be an option, but it's up to the board to get the money out and spend big and not do what we did on the last transfer window, which is sort of drag our heels, make bids that aren't good enough, chase players we've got no chance of getting, and then end up with a player we could have got for a bit cheaper, weeks ago. So I think we really need to spend big, but not on 2 or 3 players. I think that's ridiculous. I think you're right. I think we need one big central midfield, and I think that's short term, definitely. But like you say, long term, we perhaps do need a left back if he's not going to give Fabio a chance, and maybe a central defender as well, with the likes of Vidic and Rio coming towards the end of their careers.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at central midfielders around Europe, you don't instantly think, oh, Ander Herrera is a 30 million plus player. Even when we went in for him, if I'm honest with you, the only sort of matches that I ever remember him really standing out in were against us, and that was years ago. He's coming to 25 years old. He's not been capped by Spain. He's not played Champions League football. Yeah, it doesn't mean that's a mark of how good he is, but at the same time, you can use that as a sort of a gauge. Is he someone that's going to come in and make an impact straight away? Probably not. He may end up being a top class player, but as you say, we want someone to come in and make an immediate impression, get in the first 11, stay there and just make, do that in the short term. And then in the long run, that's a different issue. That's why I thought De Rossi would have been a quality signing if we tried to get him.
I would have loved it.
He would have come in straight away, done the business, and he wouldn't hamper if we did go out and buy a young player, say like Ross Barkley alongside him. That to me would have been an ideal pair. One to come in straight off, just get in there alongside Carrick, and the other one is for a long-term sort of future, in the next few years when Carrick and De Rossi start, that would have been ideal. So that's what I think we need. And then once you've got that in, it allows players like Rooney, Kagawa, Robin van Persie, Nani, Valencia, who, gives them a little bit more freedom because they've got a bit more security with what's behind them. I think psychologically, if you think, as much as they'll say, Cleverley's a top player and they'll back their squad and they'll back their teammates, there's always going to be something in the back of your head where you're going, well, actually, we probably do need a central midfielder in there alongside Michael Carrick. So, they're going to be, they do look like they're playing slightly within themselves a little bit going forward. And I think that getting that world-class player in will help that.
I mean, I think the scary thing is as well, you mentioned Michael Carrick. I think, what is he, 32 now? Even he can't go on forever. And even this season, he's not looked quite as consistent as he did last season, and you worry about the sort of when he starts entering the sort of final stages of his career, because he's going to be a huge player to replace, and you may need 2 central midfielders. But I think these next few months till the January transfer window are a great chance for the likes of Phil Jones, the likes of Tom Cleverley, and perhaps even Fellaini to stake their claim and to say to Moyes, listen, you don't need to go out and spend £40 million on a Khedira or whoever. I can do that job. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they've got the chance because Moyes can't buy anyone for the next 3 months. We've seen what Jones did in midfield yesterday. We saw Cleverley come in. Cleverley's had some good games this season, to be fair. I think he played well against Chelsea. He played well. He did a job yesterday. So he's got to sort of step up. And plus, it's a World Cup year. These lads want to go to the World Cup. I'm sure Cleverley wants to go to the World Cup, and Jones. And this is a chance for them to show not just Moyes that they can do a job for us and sort of become a regular, but also to show Roy Hodgson that they're good enough to join the England circus.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't really. I mean, there's enough motivation there for these players to come in and do not just a job, but do excel in that position. They should. I mean, not that they need the motivation, but there's lots of reasons for them to come in. But at the same time, as much as they might think, they are able to show Moyes that we don't need a centre midfielder, I think he will go out and get one. He needs to. That's what the squad needs. And as you say, looking at Carrick's age, obviously Giggs has played in central midfield, but he won't go on forever. You are looking at an area of the squad which, for different reasons has been not neglected, but we just haven't added there. Anderson hasn't come on as well as we would have hoped.
I forgot about him for a blissful moment then.
Exactly. We're not even going to talk about him. And then obviously the squad would look even better if players like Ravel Morrison and Paul Pogba had been able to show that bit, that class or whatever it might need to stay at the club. But for whatever reasons, that area of the squad is weak or not weak, but it's an area that needs addressing basically. So one big signing in whether it's in Jan or in the summer, and then build with younger players to come up, with the squad. That's how I would do it.
Definitely, and I'm sick of mentioning the Wayne Rooney saga, but one good thing that's sort of come out of it is the fact that we've established that A, he doesn't want to play in central midfield, and B, we don't want to play him there ourselves. Because I was never a big fan of Wayne Rooney in central midfield, and it was tried, and people sort of said, "Oh, he can, and he can do his job there," but I never thought he could.
Just on the whole Wayne Rooney thing, okay, he's not a midfielder, but yesterday he won man of the match, didn't he? He ran around a lot.
That says more about our fans on Twitter than it does about Wayne Rooney's performance, I think, if I'm honest.
I mean, it was great effort, great work rate, but he's in there to create and score goals, and we didn't see much of that. And he should be putting that effort in every game. Forget about just against Arsenal. And then people saying he should be praised for looking fit and lean. Well, no, he's a professional athlete. That's his job. Why wasn't he fit and lean last season? I don't know how he got man of the match. I thought, for me, it was either Jones or Evans, considering Vidic didn't play the whole game. But anyway, yeah, that was just one thing.
I agree. Phil Jones for me all day long. I think if you don't get a man of the match after a game like that, with a performance like that, you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
I think you don't always get what you need to do.
It's just a bit odd that Wayne Rooney got it off the Twitter lot. But I don't see.
No surprises though. When I was leaving the ground, the lad I sit with, he said to me, he said, "Watch this, Wayne Rooney will get man of the match," and I said, "No chance." And he said, think about it. Our fans on Twitter, and the Man United Twitter account seems to promote him every game as well. So it wasn't a great surprise.